Hello everybody and welcome to M&J Games. I am Michael and today I'm starting the first episode in a brand new series, and this is the first one of these Let's Play series that I've done. So we're going to play Planet Coaster. We're going to create our own theme park, and so I'll release one video the same day each week at the same time, progressing through the theme park together with you. And I would love suggestions and stuff as we go along. Sometimes I might be a little bit ahead in the series, but I can always go back and change things if we need to. Now, as you can see, what I did is I chose the custom environment. I chose the grassland. I've never played on the grassland before, so I wanted to try to give that one a try. Plus, I know that's the only one, at least that I know of, that when you start at 0%. So as you can see what I'm choosing, I wanted to have some sort of potential to do like a mine train type coaster. So for one of my steeps, I chose the westerny rock. I chose grass as one of the ground, because I feel like you got to have green grass. And then usually for my details, I'll choose leaves. I've started choosing the mud with like flowers and stuff, and then I always choose the tarmac, and I like the tarmac more than the concrete. And then I had to choose some dry grass as well, because underneath the coasters, for the realism standpoint, you want to make sure that the coasters are, the grass underneath the coaster looks like it's been worn and so forth. So that's what I chose. And everybody's got different stuff of what they plan on doing with their park, but I felt like that covered all the basic needs for what I was trying to do. So now as we begin, so most of this episode is really over. I kind of designed the basics of the entrance, and I also do a lot of the parking lot. So I've never really done a parking lot before. I've kind of worked on one before, but I haven't completed a park where I've done a parking lot. So for me, I did a fair amount of research trying to figure out, okay, how do I want to make this parking lot? It's not the computer game. We can't use just a ton of pieces. So what I decided was to kind of model it after the Six Flags Over Georgia. Not the exact same, but that's where I kind of modeled it afterwards. And so as you'll see here, I start taking the terrain tool and I'm kind of painting out roughly where I want it to be. And I want to have that little part right there. I want to have a little part where I can have like buses and stuff that could go and drop off. So you can see me painting the terrain right there. And I want to have parking on both sides. And so the parking on the left side is going to be a little bit larger than the parking on the right side. And then on the right side, in a second, you will see me paint a little area. So that area is going out a little bit. I'm going to paint this area kind of mud. And what that's going to be is I'm going to make it look a little bit nicer, and it will be like an extra parking lot. So in theory, if the park is full and there's nowhere to park, you could park out there. As I know some theme parks have that. A lot of stadiums have that for extra parking and so forth. And so what I decided to do here is I wanted to get the basic entrance of what I wanted the basic idea or design of the entrance to be. And I'm never very good at coming up with this kind of stuff. This is always usually where I get the most stuck, is trying to figure out, okay, what do you want the entrance to look like? And so I decided to go with a brick, because I know kind of Six Flags style maybe, where it's a little bit more basic, nothing too crazy. And instead of having the main brick, I wanted to kind of go with a wider style. And I plan to have darker trim on the buildings. So it's kind of a lighter style. You've got the darker tile kind of representing the cement on the floor and stuff. And so you can see me here, what I'm doing is I'm placing a window with the side of the building, so that then I can just copy all of that over and I don't have to replace the windows every single time. Which I realized afterwards that I probably shouldn't have done that, because there's some I had to end up deleting. So I probably should have placed the sides first that didn't have the windows before adding the windows. And so I'm going to have three of these kind of pillar kind of towers, and there's going to be an entranceway in between them. Now, one thing I didn't point out before is one thing I've started doing for a realism standpoint is the actual entrance to the park I have right by the spawn point. And here, eventually, I'm going to put some turnstiles that I found that somebody made on the workshop, and I saw how they made them, so I'm just going to end up doing the same thing. And I'm going to put turnstiles underneath the two walkways to make it more realistic. You see me trying to see if I could put a window to the side there, if that looked good, and I really didn't think it did. So now I'm just adjusting the windows, because I realized that they weren't exactly in the center. And then I also tried a little bit, not quite as steep of a roof right there, to see if it looked as good, and it definitely didn't. So I'm sticking with that one. So right here, like I said, it's just trying to make sure that I get the entrance built in the way I want it, roughly looking the way I want it. And as always, like when you're watching this, I'd love your opinions on what you guys like, what you don't like. Because I can always go back and rework some things too. And for me, I like this look of this. I like the kind of lighter brick there. So then once I place the rest of those roofs, what I'm going to do, because I want to have a lot of buildings that kind of face diagonally, like I don't want everything to necessarily just be rectangles and squares. I don't want them all just to face 90-degree opposite of each other and so forth. So what I want to do is kind of have some angles and have some awkward looking buildings that are combined together. And I was looking right there to see, do I maybe want to have a building in the middle with tickets? And I was like, no, that doesn't look good. So what I'm going to end up doing is having essentially those two buildings on the side. But later I'm going to come back and I'm going to connect them to where it looks like it's all one building. So right now I'm just trying to get the general layout of how I might want it to look before I end up working more on the parking lot. So when you see me there, just replacing the entrance to where it looks symmetrical and even with where the guests are walking up on. And now I'm trying my best. I mean, this is one area where I feel like they could give us better options with the game, but I'm trying to create a semi-okay entrance where I could have where it looks like the the roads are coming out of. And what I think I'm going to do is I think I'm going to place a couple of black screens there, or place a little bit of cement and stuff, making it look like a tunnel, and put a little bit of black screens just kind of to where you can't really see the grass underneath it or to the back of it. And so I'm taking cars there to try to measure it out and make sure that I'm not making it too wide where I'm going to have too many individual pieces, or is it too narrow and so forth. And like I said, I just painted the train in the beginning to get the rough idea of where I wanted it to be. So that you can obviously always come back and change. All right, so what I'm doing now is I realized that the terrain wasn't all level, so I'm taking the flatten to foundation tool and I'm starting over where I know that cement sidewalk worked well, and I'm flattening everything else to that size. So you can see me kind of mapping out roughly where or what I want what I want it to look like. And I'm leaving a little space there for the buses that are coming in and stuff. And eventually what I'm going to do is I'm going to have kind of on each of these sides, I'm going to have a little area where the cars kind of exit at. Because at Six Flags over Georgia, they exit a different way than they came in. So it's not like the two are right beside each other. So there's like a little, it's not as many lanes as it is when you're entering, but there's like 2 lanes instead of 4 lanes where they're kind of running on the side of the parking lot. And so you see here what I'm doing is instead of using wall pieces, I was using one of the wide beams. And the reason I'm doing that is just because they're 8 meters instead of 4 meters. So even if you're up close, if it might look awkwardly long, that's fine with me, because at the end of the day on the console edition, we have to make sure that we are all about utilizing all the pieces properly, since we have a piece limit. And here I realized that they weren't necessarily symmetrical going across, so I'm trying my best, and I have to come back to the last couple later because I was just getting annoyed with how it wasn't quite working right, so I decided I'll move on to something else and come back to it. So now you can just see me painting the terrain, and man, this terrain tool is awesome. Like, originally I thought if I wanted to build a parking lot I had to lay a lot of pieces and so forth, but man, just use that tarmac paint and I mean it works perfectly. It looks just like a parking lot, especially once you lay down pieces representing the parking spaces and stuff. And so I'll also have a chain link fence going around this wall. So in theory, I mean, it would be nice if the paths didn't take up so much of the counter, and you could have some paths going that way, so that you could actually have some guests walking around the edge of the park, like looking at the roller coaster and stuff. And so what you see me doing here is I'm trying to. I don't like having that wide kind of little gap between the cement and the grass there. So I'm trying to level it out to where the grass comes flush. So I'm using the flattened to foundation tool. And I still have to work on that side a little bit. But then there I just use the flatten to foundation tool again. But I use it um, from where the car park is, and it ended up leveling it out well. So like I said before, my idea here, and ideas could always change because sometimes we start executing them, it doesn't quite work properly. Um, well, I guess I'll come back working that spot in a little bit. Because sometimes I have a habit of that, of not quite knowing what I wanted yet, and then going and working on something else. So you can see me here. I now take a car so I can kind of measure, okay, what does this parking spot need to look like? And I realize if I just move it 4 meters that it would line up perfectly. So now I just continue copying and pasting. Every time I place a new one, I'll then create a group with all the pieces I just made and so forth. And so what I realized once I got done playing this part is I think to kind of make it look nice, and I'll probably use the cones as kind of a way of directing some of the traffic and kind of letting people in certain lanes know where they can turn. And so you see me here laying some more sidewalk pieces because that's going to represent my exit. So I'm going to have 2 exit lanes there. And I'll probably try to make some little hill or something that I can kind of make up to be a like entrance to a tunnel to a highway or something. So now once again you see me using the 8 meter piece. And so I think using these 8 meters will help because I'm using half of the pieces that I normally would if I was doing the 4 meters. And so it's just all about saving piece count. Yeah, and I don't know if you can tell some, but sometimes I have trouble with sometimes forgetting the stuff's in a group and all this different stuff. And I think it takes so long to get used to the building components in this, or at least for me it did. And I think most of them are pretty good, but some of them are a little tedious. Like I mean, maybe I just don't know it that well, but it's hard to kind of add. Like if you're doing a building, you split part of a building from a building. It's hard to add it back to that same building. There's just some certain things that make it a little bit tougher. But so you can see me here. I'm trying to make the first 2 lanes, the first 2 rows of cars, kind of go a little bit further up. I think it's the last one, and then all the other ones go a little bit further back because they're going to have a different lane that they exit into to leave. And then kind of same thing here. And so I'll do that on the next episode where I place the cones. So it'll be kind of like traffic cones, and I'll place arrows as well. Yeah, you can see here that didn't quite work for me when I was trying to just do the advanced move tool. For some reason, it's all of a sudden moving it way over there, and so every once in a while you have stuff that happens that's like it doesn't make sense why it's doing it that way. So you just find a way to work around it. So now I found this on the workshop. I forget the name of it, but I can put the name of it down below. But it's basically these large light posts using the area lights. And I was looking to see if I wanted a more cement piece underneath, and I decided to not go with that. And so what I did was I took one of the, and there I messed up, is I accidentally took the whole pole with it. But I'm taking one of the lights and its handle, and I'm moving it to where they go opposite each other. And so now I'm just going to copy and paste, and I believe I moved it 6 spots. Because you really don't want to have any areas of the parking lot that don't have light on it. And so now when I move them across, I realize that that's kind of, at first I realized just moving it over one part is kind of too close. So that looks better. So now I'm just taking one light post and I'm putting that all around the outside. And most of everything that I'm going to do in this park, I'm going to try to be custom. But for some things like this, there's certain things that people make on the workshop that are just really good and really helpful that It's like, why remake the exact same thing that somebody just did, right? In terms of buildings, all the buildings definitely going to be custom, but for little things like this, every once in a while, I might use something like that. And if I do, I'll tell you specifically kind of where I got it, or and so forth. But I believe this one's just called Light Pole 2A, so I think there's different ones where you got one light, two lights, three lights. Now here, I still haven't figured out what I'm going to do, but my thought was having like a little tiny lake. It wouldn't be a lake, a little water area, and I probably would put walls there, kind of um, where the sidewalk is, just to kind of make it look more neat. So now you can see me here. I think the hardest part sometimes is trying to get these paths to line up perfectly when you're using the advanced tool and moving them. And so that other part there, I'm going to kind of dig out and have that be water as well. And guys, as always, I love your feedback. What do you guys think? Is there anything you would have done differently? Because at the end of the day, I'm still new to this. I never played on the PC. I'm sure a lot of us never played on PC, but this is one of those where it's such a fun game. But everybody's got different tastes. Everybody's got different things they like. And so now you see me here. I'm kind of trying to map out what I want the parking lot to look like on the other side. And this side's going to have kind of an exit area as well. And so I'll have to finish kind of making that look nice on the next episode along with the entrance area. So now I'm working on these buildings and I'm trying to just make sure I get them looking how I want them to look. So I changed the color on all of them to be the same. But then I realized that's kind of too much, I feel like. So I'm going to ultimately end up changing the two buildings that are on, like the outer two buildings. So you can see me kind of looking and seeing there. So I like this it's like painted wood, but it's not the painted batten wood. It's just the painted wood because I think it looks nice with a darker trim. And so I'm kind of keeping the style with the same color. Definitely lighter colors. Everybody's got different tastes to work for them. And so what I'm going to do with those two buildings that are next to these is I'm going to make them restrooms, but they're not actually going to be restrooms that are accessible. They're just going to be like fake restrooms, essentially. I've seen players do that before. Like I know Nerd Chacho did a tutorial on how to make stuff like that, and it's just kind of there for realism as here's some bathrooms that you can use if you're about to head, if you need to, before you can head in the park. And so now I took two different options. I believe in the video after this I asked which one you guys like more. I just took the normal wooden ones, and then on the other side I'll take some coaster supports and just color them the same, around the same color to kind of see which ones I like more. And I didn't do that last part there because like I said, I'm ultimately going to connect the two buildings. So yeah, there's the other color. So you got coaster supports there. Now the only thing with doing coaster supports instead of the wooden ones is, at least with the wooden ones, you have the option for a 4 meter, so it actually would save pieces over the long run. So I think I like the look of these a little bit better, but I might lean more towards the wooden just from that standpoint that it would save pieces, and especially if I'm doing a lot of trim on some of these buildings, I mean that can add up. So one thing I think I will do on these videos is if there's anything that I design in the um, during this playthrough and stuff, at the end, because I'm always gonna have a live portion at the end where I kind of go over what I did, anything in particular, stuff like that. I'll take a quick moment to kind of show how that's made. So I think sometimes when watching these videos, you see somebody make something and it's like, oh, well, how did they do that? And it's hard to see it when it's sped up so fast. So that's what I want to make sure to do. But in this video, there's nothing in particular that I specifically made. So you can see me just copying that over because I really like with roofs. just doing that metal alloy on top and coloring it kind of a lighter colors. I think it looks really good when you have a lot of buildings that are facing different ways. And so now we're heading to the live portion. Um, I know it looks like we maybe didn't get a lot started because we basically were just working on this parking lot area over here. And I've still got some things to complete. Because what I want to do is I want to make a couple kind of stations here to pay for parking. And in this area, I want to create a couple like little lanes that could be like, hey, if you're a bus and you're dropping people off and so forth. Um, so obviously, still got more to do. Nowhere near complete. And then I want to kind of mask this part of it right here. So I might put like a black, because I saw somebody do this, put like a black screen here to where you can't really see everything behind it and try to make it look a little bit better. But yeah, so this is kind of my plan right now. I think it's going pretty good. I got to adjust a couple of these as well because I realized, and these were a little bit off as I was going through it. So yeah, now I wanted to get your guys' opinion on something because for the next build, what I'll probably do is I'll probably quickly finish out these things, and then I'll probably finish out this area. I'll probably save this area over here for a little bit later, just because I don't want to hold my first two builds just doing parking lot. But then I'm gonna work on the entrance plaza, and probably right behind it. So I want your guys' opinion. What do you think of this color? Because I want to do something that's, I know these things are a little different, but I'm going to have something kind of there blocking the two. But I wanted to do kind of a lighter color. Is this way too light? Also now, just to kind of give you a look of it, it probably won't look as light once, so let me copy these real quick. Just to kind of show you what it's going to look like. But I don't want to put these down until I place the paths yet, because I want to make sure that I'm not over, that I know exactly where the paths are at and so forth. So let me, just to give you an idea of what this would look like. Also, is this the right color? Do you think we should do a different color? I want your opinion on all that stuff, because I'm not a designer. I'm not the best at this whole designing stuff. It's fun, but I also know that a lot of people know better than me. And so, it's going to look something roughly like this, and I'm just putting this one sideways just for right now, because I know that's so it's not going to be all white or all gray. And also, so then what I want to get your guys' opinion on is the trim. So the trim for all the buildings going here, and then plus the ones in this way. And so what I wanted to kind of, my idea here was when you walk in, you might have a building on each side that's kind of angled just a little bit, or kind of angles out and then comes up. But then once you walk this way a little bit, then the road's going to fork, and you're going to go this way, you're going to go this way, and then there's going to be a nice building here in the middle that's kind of in between the fork. Okay, so what I want to get your guys' opinion on is which trim do we like better? Do we like the coaster support color that's this dark brown? And a lot of my roofs I'm going to do like this, since I want to try to do buildings that aren't traditionally just boxes or rectangles sometimes, or buildings that connect. Like I'm going to have these buildings connect, so it looks like one large building. And it's easier to do with this instead of some of these pieces. Not saying that I won't do it, but yeah. And then, or do you prefer these ones that look real wooden and so forth? Okay, so please let me know your guys' thoughts. I hope you enjoyed this first build. Like I said, I know we didn't get a lot done in terms of a lot of the exciting stuff, but next episode we'll work on finishing this area, finishing this parking lot over here, and hopefully getting started with this area here, so then the next episode we can start by building some rides and stuff. And so my first thought too about a roller coaster was having a coaster that kind of took up this space, this area. So I kind of, as I said before, I kind of modeled this, the look of this a little bit. Obviously, it's not exact. Modeled it a little bit off of Six Flags Over Georgia. And as you kind of walk up, they have a stand-up coaster right here. So my thought for right here was something that's going to be semi-compact. So not anything big, but I could do like a floorless coaster. I could do a danglefoot coaster, something like that. So I wanted something that was going to be a nice sight for guests, in theory, as they parked their cars and walked up to the park. Okay? So, I hope you enjoyed this, and like I said, this is going to be an every week occurrence, so one day a week, on the recurring day. And at the point of me filming this video, I haven't decided which day that is yet, but I believe it's going to be Monday. So please let me know your thoughts. What did you like? Was there anything you think I should have done different? Because I'm open for ideas as well. And I hope you guys enjoy this, and make sure to hit that subscribe button to keep up to date with all the videos that we post at M&J Games. And I hope you have a great rest of your day.